Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 493 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our fifth book just came out. It's called Perseverance and How to Be a Great Fraternity or Sorority Alumnus. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, we must have a thing for Miss Kentucky winners on this show. Our very own speaker, Maria Maldonado Smith, she is on the front cover of the Adelphian, which is a magazine for 260,000 members of Alpha Delta Pi. I mean, are you kidding me? So go and check it out on the Alpha Delta Pi website. You can also read that article online, even if you don't have the actual magazine. And speaking of Miss Kentucky, we have another winner of the Miss Kentucky pageant with us today. Kristie Crenshaw is a dynamic motivational speaker, life coach, and digital marketer with a passion for helping women in business. With degrees in theater and radio television, Kristie combines her exceptional communication and presentation skills to engage and entertain her audience. A former Miss Kentucky America and first runner-up to Miss Teen USA, she brings grace and confidence to every stage. As an advocate for a purpose-driven life, she offers a unique 5-pillar system for achieving personal and professional fulfillment to her coaching clients and a 2-step method to help anyone be better at just about anything. She believes in Jesus, drinking less to live more, and making marriage matter. And she was named one of the top 15 coaches in Louisville for 2024 by Influence Digest. Welcome to the show, Kristie Crenshaw.
Wow, thanks, Mike. I feel so blessed and pleased and happy to be here. You have quite an entourage of people in your circle there, man. I'm very happy to be invited in for a little chit chat. Thank you.
It is our pleasure to have you on the show. And listen, I'm just blessed that this many people actually want to work with me. I still have no idea why. I have no idea.
You're doing something right, man.
Grateful.
You're doing something right, for sure.
I guess I'm doing something right. I don't know, but yes, I'm incredibly blessed to have incredible people around me, and that is the reason for my success. Honestly, like I swear to God, it's only because I have rock stars that I work with every single day, like Maria, who you know, and these are people that just get stuff done. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Naturally gifted and go-getters, and don't know how to say no thanks or no, it's not possible. It's usually how can we make it work? And that's a great mentality to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% think that with our team, there's nothing that is impossible. People are like, well, let's break it down into smaller steps and let's figure out how we're going to get it done. And when you have an attitude like that and everybody is just like, we can do anything, it's literally the impossible becomes possible. And it happens every day on our team. And so I'm so blessed. So thank you very much for all of that. Now, you know, we have to talk about Morehead State University because this is where you went for your undergraduate experience. And interestingly enough, my fraternity brother, Dr. J. Morgan, is president of the university over there.
Nice.
Doing amazing work for Morehead State. So I need to know, why did you choose Morehead State?
Well, Mike, I'll tell you, there's 2 reasons. Reason number 1, an out-of-state college scenario was not presented to me as an option. I am from a very small town, Bardstown, Kentucky, not from a wealthy family. I'm the youngest of 6. Only one of my siblings had gone to college. She went to University of Louisville through the ROTC program and served a 22-year military career in the Air Force, now currently serving in our Kentucky Republican Senate. And the second answer to that is that when I did start to look at what I wanted to major in and what I wanted to study, which was theater and radio television, I double majored. broadcast journalism. I don't know what they're calling it these days,
Mm.
but Morehead State University was listed among the top state universities for their theater program. And so that spoke volumes to me. So if I had to stay in state, I wanted one that at least had a respected program. And I really do have to give mad props to Dr. Travis Lockhart, Dr. Lane and his wife, Sylvia Lane, Cozy Hamilton. They all just were phenomenal stewards of the craft there and gave me a great education and an opportunity to really do the thing and not just read about the thing. We produced 3 shows per semester between Kibbe and Button Auditorium. And if I wasn't actively acting on stage, I was back in the wings, I was helping dress, I was doing makeup. So I was involved in all the different aspects of theater. And it did give me a really great education, but also it gave me tremendous confidence that the stage was not something I was afraid of after that, for sure.
Wow, that's a great testimonial. Boy, oh boy. All right, I'm gonna have to call Dr. J. Morgan and tell him
Uh,
he's gonna use that on a commercial to
please do.
publicize Morehead
Please do.
State.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Now, I know you joined Kappa Delta sorority over there. We absolutely love the women of Kappa Delta. What was special about the Sisters of KD that made you want to join them over the other organizations on campus?
Well, it's interesting. So I was not a legacy. I did not know what a legacy was. I wasn't even intending to go Greek at that point. And I actually did not rush until my junior year. So I spent 2 years just kind of being on campus, but in my sophomore year, I moved into the honor dorm. My RA was a Kappa Delta, Marcia Hairston. She has since passed from a battle with cancer. But everyone that I met in the sisterhood, and Marcia was my big, so she had a tremendous impact on my life long term and long beyond college. These women just I kept finding myself around a bunch of Kappa Deltas, and which was great, but I couldn't go to their events. I couldn't go to the mixers and whatnot because I wasn't a member. But what really stuck out to me was the quality of individual that these women were. I felt like I was attracting just genuine, authentic, real women. And when I looked at the organization, their values are friendship and loyalty, selfless service, personal integrity, and then lifelong learning. And clearly a lifelong learner if you're in this industry at all in any capacity. Once I found out Diamond, Emerald, and Pearl were part of the scenario too, that kind of locked me in. But I just gravitated towards these women, and I formed natural friendships so that it really became impossible for me not to join Kappa Delta. And I'm so glad that I did, because it has lingered throughout my life.
Wow, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And I'm so glad that you had a great experience at KD. It certainly
I
sounds
did.
like you did, and you're looking wonderful in the olive green today. So certainly, the ode to Kappa Delta is not missed.
Had to.
Now, you became Miss Kentucky in 1995. Tell our audience, what was that moment like for you, and how has that moment kind of changed your life?
Well, I pulled this old thing out to show, yes, it's true. I really did. Um, the Miss Kentucky organization, the Miss America organization in general, was at that time, and still is to the best of my knowledge, the single largest scholarship organization in the world for women. And again, not coming from a wealthy family, I was looking for scholarship opportunities. I carried a double major. I had a work study in the financial aid office, and then my senior year in the student government office as vice president of student government. I was looking for ways to pay for college. And, long story short, I paid for over 75% of all of my tuition and expenses with scholarship that I earned through the program. Now, the money to pay for education, great, that's wonderful. But who you become while competing in the Miss America organization, that is the real prize, because you are forced to become aware of what's going on in the world, in your region, in the state, in the country, internationally, what's happening in the globe and why it matters. You have to perform in talent of some form or fashion. So, what would you do there? I opted to sing versus doing a monologue. I probably should have done a monologue because I'm not that great of a singer, but I sold it. I sold the song. That's what I did. The interview portion was always my strong suit and what I really enjoyed the most because they were meaningful conversations. And so that was something that prepared me for corporate life, the work world, relationships in general, and having, meaningful and intelligent conversations with grown-ups. That definitely had a huge impact on me in that way. And the people that I met along the way, I have friends that I met that I have stayed fast, wonderful, dear friends with. Maria Maldonado Smith, which you just mentioned, she's about 10 years younger than me. And so we met at another Miss Kentucky that we were both there just visiting, or maybe we were participating in some way, but we just clicked. And I just love her. I've texted this morning with the woman that was Miss Nevada the year that I competed, Jen Lear. She and I are great friends, and she lives in Vegas. We don't see each other that often, but the relationship is there. So it really poured into me, making me a better woman. And any young woman that competes in the program will find herself challenged in many ways, personally, professionally. She'll be pushed to, to show the goods. Like, are you doing the work? Have you been practicing whatever your talent is? Do you know what's going on in the world? How do you express yourself when it comes to your fashion? The 4 points of the crown, by the way, which are big now. I don't think it was discussed as much back in the day, some 30 years ago when I did it, but are style, scholarship, service, and success. And so that gives young women some anchors to cling to and to focus on, which will help guide them in a direction that I think helps them really develop themselves into their best possible outcome. So it was a fantastic opportunity for me, and it definitely paid for a lot of my college education, and it just made me a better person.
Wow. What strikes me is the profound impact that these organizations have made on you, whether it be Morehead State or Kappa Delta or the Miss America organization. I mean, these, it's been tremendous for you. It just seems like you're always in the right place at the right time, and you've really taken full advantage of all the opportunities that have been given to you. You don't get cheated. You're in it, and you really take it to, the full hilt. And I just enjoy hearing about it. You're also a 20-year member of the Screen Actors Guild. So if college students are interested in acting, what would be your best advice for them?
Well, clearly I didn't make it big because you haven't seen me on any major movies, or I did a few, country music videos. I did a lot of industrial video. I did a lot of voiceover. I would say if I were to give anyone advice, practice your craft, really pour into that. Find an agent that you trust and protect your soul, because the industry can be dicey at times. You have to have a foundation, a solid, firm foundation of what you're drawing back to that will guide who you are in your professional life. Since I'm shouting out and dropping names, I have to tell you about the agent that I had in Houston, Texas. I lived there for 6 years. Pastor Ernie Bosby was phenomenal. Jenny Bosby, Cindy Davis Andrus, phenomenal people. I worked more there and I had more fun when I did work because they were great at matching, the right suggested talent to casting agents for the right projects. And they just had an abundance mentality. There's enough work for everybody, and they really poured into their people. So finding a good agent is important. Now, when I got my SAG card in Nashville, Tennessee in '98 with a service merchandise commercial starring Robert Wagner. So you have to get a union gig in order to be able to join the union, or you can do like 3 non-union or something and have a waiver. I don't know what it is anyway. But so I got my SAG card and I'm like, I'm going to go to LA. And I went to Los Angeles in summer of 2000. And I was there all of 2 weeks, and SAG goes on strike. I never got an agent when I was in Los Angeles. I did study with the Groundlings Theater, which is akin to Second City out of Chicago. That was a phenomenal experience. I took a lot of acting classes. I paid for a lot of acting classes, but for some of us, maybe it's the process of learning. And for others, maybe you are destined for stardom. That clearly wasn't my path, but it was definitely a worthwhile journey. And I love creatives, and I love creative people, and I love the creative process. So as I've aged and matured, I think I'm less concerned about being on stage from a an acting standpoint and more invested in writing and script. When I'm watching movies, it doesn't matter who the actors are. If the script is really good, I am pulled in. Sometimes the actors will pull you in, but then it's like it's a garbage script, and so you don't watch the rest of it. But there's so many facets to a good creative project that you're not limited to just acting. There's writing, there's lighting, there's music, cinematography, all of it. There's a lot of opportunity to be really creative and have a lot of fun. And so if anyone does pursue that, I wish you all the success in the world. It's hard work. It's hard work.
Great advice. Really, really good. Now you're speaking, and your keynote program is called Crafting Your Life Story, the Power of the Narratives We Create. So tell our audience, what is the power of personal narratives in terms of shaping our reality and our future?
Right. So as you mentioned in the bio, I had 5 pillars that I work with in my coaching clients. And something that continually comes up for people is their self-talk. The most important conversation that we have all day long with all the conversations that we have is the one we have with ourselves. Just because we think a thing or have a thought doesn't make it truth. It does not have to be true. And so oftentimes we pull these, because I'm older, I can say this, an 8-track tape from back in the late 70s, early 80s, that's on repeat, that's on a loop, that just keeps playing over and over and over again. And it's not true, and it doesn't serve us, and we still are believing that. So looking at how we speak about ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, and what that means. Oftentimes things have happened in someone's past and they are locked in on the negative outcome. And they think that negative outcome now dictates everything that will happen moving forward. And it doesn't have to. Like, you get a blank page every single day. What are you going to write? We can let go of our baggage. And so I'll use some of my coaching elements and my 5 pillars in working through that with someone. But it's really, really important to look at how we speak to ourselves, and utilizing the life coach school model is something that's very commonly used in the coaching industry. And it purports that there are basically 5 things. There are your circumstances, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and then your results. And so if you take that line of thinking, you can plug in the crap feeling that you're having right now and figure out what's the thought that's dominating my mind right now that's causing this feeling. And that feeling is going to drive my actions, which, if it's not a great feeling, it's probably not going to drive great action. And the not great action is going to drive a result you're not really looking for. So going in and reprogramming, identifying those thoughts that are negative, we can then dial those in and change them to something that's still true. That feels like it's true when you say it, even just a little bit. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be a tiny, tiny, tiny change in that, and how we shift our own perspective of ourselves. And so that's part of the narration process.
That's so helpful. Really good stuff. And it's funny, your references of 8-tracks and service merchandise are not lost on me. It might be lost on Gen Z. I'm just telling you, they might not know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
For the record. So, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more, because I do think that a lot of us have this negative self-talk that is happening in our brains right now. So if we want to transform that negative self-talk into something that's empowering beliefs, how do we go about doing that?
So if we take a negative thought, for instance, like, I'll never get that job.
Mm-hmm.
No one will love me.
Right.
I can't lose the weight. I don't know how to make money. I am not good at X. Fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that sentence and ask yourself, is that really true? Is it definitive? Probably not. You may not be able to do the thing today. Maybe yet is the thing we need to add to it. There's a really interesting little clip that my husband sent me. The guys from South Park were talking about how they write. And when they're writing a scene, they don't allow themselves to say, this happened, and then, and then. They're only allowed to put but or therefore. So in the scene of our lives, this thing, a circumstance, happens, but I will overcome it. Or therefore, I have learned not to fill in the blank. Rather than just allowing this snowball of bad things that keep happening to me. A lot of us like to think that things happen to us. They happen for you. It's a gift. What are you learning from that? You know, one of the 5 pillars that I use is perspective. It's when we look back at everything in our lives that is something we deem to be negative. You have to look at that and ask yourself, what was the lesson? And how can I pull that to today? How can I move that forward into my life to benefit me, to benefit others? What is the lesson? It's not win or lose, it's win or learn. So instead of then this happened and this happened and this happened, just a rant of negativity, it's this happened, but, or therefore.
I totally agree with that 100%. Either I win or I learn. I say that all the time. And I think a lot of the college students who are listening right now, they're almost afraid to fail. And I got to tell you, I mean, I've failed so many times in my life. You have no idea. Okay. I failed as chapter president. There were mistakes that I made. I made mistakes as the executive director of my fraternity. I made mistakes as the CEO of Greek University. I do all of those things. And because of that, I will win. Okay.
Yes.
That is the reason why I'm going to win. So you got to get over this this fear of failure in order to really stretch your imagination in terms of what's possible in the future. So totally agree with all of that.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of the fraternity and sorority system is that it really does teach good communication skills and good social skills. And I think this is critical right now, especially as we're coming out of COVID and all of the isolation that has happened. How do we get better in terms of communicating and articulating our thoughts authentically, both for personal relationships that we're in, as well as professional relationships?
Yeah, I think it's simpler than we think it is. First, listen to understand, not listen to reply, but listen to understand. And in order to understand, you have to then become curious. So it's not just about taking a statement and letting that be it, having it be very one-dimensional and flat. Let's dig a little bit deeper. You know, I think Brene Brown is the one who said say more. You know, I love that. I love that. Anytime someone says something that I have an initial thing where I kind of want to puff up a little bit or start defending or maybe judge that, I'll take a beat, I'll take a breath, and I'll go, say more. Or that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about X, and pick out one word that they said or something that they indicated that you'd like to genuinely know more about. If we judge it on face value, we could totally miss the mark on what the intent was. So listening to understand fully. And then, because communication really only happens when what's in your head then becomes what's in my head through the words that we speak. So, or other forms. Then becoming really curious, and curious from a non-judgmental standpoint, listening to learn and trying to understand more fully by being curious. You don't have to agree with someone. You can respectfully disagree. I know it's really challenging right now, in the era of social media, 24/7, just an onslaught of images, of words, of photos, of opinions, of this, of that, likes, dislikes, all of it. It just hits us nonstop if we allow it. And we have to, in our interpersonal relationships and in our professional lives, not get so used to that microwave, that instantaneous emotion that we've been, I think, trained almost in a way to adopt. That real, true relationships take time. They genuinely take time. If you look at the people that you are the closest to, that you know you could call at 2 a.m. and that they would actually answer the phone, or if they called you and you didn't even know or care what they needed, you would go. That is likely not a relationship that happened like that. That's probably a relationship that went through some awkward beginning, that went through perhaps some miscommunication, some misunderstanding, but that also went through the work of getting to know the other person authentically and allowing them to be who they are. You don't have to be like me. I don't have to be like you. We can be completely different people and completely different views and still be respectful in our communication with one another. And that's a really cool place to be in. And I think that is where innovation, creativity, and new ideas can flourish.
Yeah, I'd like to get to that point of respect despite perhaps
Mhm.
different opinions. And it's so hard in today's political climate to get there. But again, another beauty of the fraternity and sorority system. I mean, why did fraternities and sororities start in the late 1800s, early 1900s? It was all about debate. It was the fact that they wanted to debate the issues of the day. And the
Mm.
reality is that colleges and universities at that time didn't really want to talk about those particular topics. So they said, all right, fine, we'll take it off campus and we'll have that debate there. And we can have these debates within fraternity and sorority, and it happens every single week in our chapter meetings, and that's all okay. That's kind of the best part about fraternity and sorority is that we can debate these issues back and forth, and sometimes very fiercely. But at the end of the meeting, we're going to come together as one unit, and we're going to come and we're going to agree on one way forward. But I think, hearing what all of your members have to say and making sure that you're including them and asking them their opinions on all of these things, sometimes they just want to be heard more than anything.
Yes,
That's the key.
absolutely.
They just want
Mhm.
to be heard. It doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome has to be exactly what they wanted. They just want to be heard. Let them say
Absolutely.
their piece. And then from then on, it's like, okay, I'll go with the group.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime someone wants to complain, like if you went to a store manager and wanted to complain,
Yeah.
if they would just let the person talk, there'd be no incident. Like it would all be good, even if it wasn't resolved in the way that the person might want.
Mm.
Just having that opportunity to state your case and feel heard makes you a part of that solution.
100%. The other thing that I want to ask you too, that I think you can help us with, what are your suggestions for creating a future narrative for action and for fulfillment? That's where I really want to get to, is that
Mhm.
action and fulfillment. All too often, we never really get there.
Yeah. So my answer for that is write again, and write some more. And not necessarily sitting at a laptop and doing this.
Mhm.
If you're familiar at all with The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, that's a book that is a 12-week self-guided study. And I've done that probably 4 times in my adult life. I learned something about myself every single time. But she has 2 non-negotiables in that program. One is the weekly artist date, which I also highly recommend, and then the morning pages. The morning pages are free-flowing conversation with yourself, notepad, pen, free flowing. It does not have to make sense. It does not have to be spell checked. You don't edit, you just write. And you do this in the morning, first thing, to get the garbage out of your head, to get the cobwebs out of the corners. If you ever make a vegetable beef soup and then you put it in the fridge and the next morning you take it out, there's like this layer of grease on top that's solidified. That's what this does. It kind of scoops that away so that what you're taking out into the world and out into other conversations with people you love, with people you work with people whose respect you would like to garner, then you have a clean slate, you have a clean mind. And in the program, it recommends that you again write these every day, 3 pages, freehand, and you get to go back at the 8th week and review them. You can't read them before then, which is excruciating if you're a control freak. So you go back after week 8, and I'd like to take a highlighter. Now that I've done this multiple times, I will take a highlighter and a pen in a different ink color. And I'll circle, I'll write questions in the margins, I'll highlight some things. I have created in my morning musing, my morning jumbles, my word vomit in my head, I have found a desire to bake bread. I have created a coaching program. I have come up with 4 different titles of 4 different books that I want to write in the future. I've also identified one little tricky thing that has always tripped me up from the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and it just still keeps, so it's something I still keep working at, but it is a genuine conversation with yourself, and it shows you what you need to work on, what matters most, and it gives you that release of letting go of the garbage so that you don't take it out into the world and throw it onto someone else. So in doing that, you find things that are most important to you. Then you can help, orchestrate that into the future life that you want. And then you start making decisions from that future person. That future me that is all of the things that I want to be, what would she do in this instance? Because the person of yesterday of me probably isn't going to choose the right thing. Or because if you don't, you won't grow. So looking at that future person that you want to be can be scary because it's going to require you to become a new person in that process. Everything that got me right here will not get me where I want to go. I have to learn new skills. I have to try new things. That's the two-step method right there of how to pretty much do whatever you want is learn new skills. You're going to have to go through some difficulty and some toughness and learn something new that's uncomfortable. And then you're going to have to apply it in a way that is new and refreshing. And that will give you a new and different result that you have not experienced yet. So writing is my recommendation for that, for sure.
That is great advice. I really, really like that. I think, especially first thing in the morning, I think that's fantastic to shake those cobwebs out. Really, really good. I hope that our audience is going to actually practice that. I think that would be wonderful.
It's
The
fun.
other thing that I wanted to, yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was storytelling, because it seems that in fraternity and sorority, we really struggle to get out the right messages on social media and also in the news. I'm sure you've seen some of the negative stories that are written about fraternity and sorority. So, what advice do you have for our undergraduate members in terms of storytelling?
Mhm. I think if you could focus on even the small stories and give them true love and care and nurturing, that that speaks more, that speaks volumes about your membership. When you look at the small stories of where people are devoting time and attention to whatever your philanthropy is, those moments, and literally like a good story doesn't have to be some epic novella. It doesn't have to be memoirs of a geisha or something huge and epic and sweeping over decades. It can literally be a 2-minute conversation, and then include your five senses in the storytelling. Like I remember sitting at my kitchen table as a high school senior and telling my father that I wanted to major in theater. We were having meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and he put his fork down and he said, "What's your real job going to be?" Which I think is why I double majored in broadcast journalism as well. And so I have worked professionally in both a little bit, but I remember that moment. I remember what the room smelled like. I remember the light coming in from outside the window. I remember who was at the table. I remember all of that. It was a defining moment for me. So finding those moments within your membership that maybe were a pivotal shift or a pivotal change, but in the smallest, most sentimental and sweet, authentic ways. Again, it doesn't have to be, we presented this giant cardboard check to some organization. That's nice, but think about all of the tiny moments that got you up to that big moment. Focus on those smaller moments and live in those details. Details are beautiful, and they really bring a story to life.
Wow, powerful. Really, really powerful stuff. I love it. Now, my weakness is really good food, and I sense that you know good food too. So if I'm looking
Why do
for a
you
great
sense that,
meal,
Mike?
I sense that you like
What are you
good
trying to
food.
say?
I get this feeling from you that you enjoy it just as much
It's the
as I
truth.
do.
I have to own it. Yes.
So own it. I just say, yeah, that's true. So if I'm looking for a great meal and I'm just happen to be in Shelbyville, Kentucky, where
Mhm.
should I go for a great meal?
Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of answers.
All right.
Um, the first place would be at my dining room table with my husband, bringing out a couple of tomahawks fresh from the cast iron skillet. The man is a master.
Nice.
I happen to live in Shelbyville, which is 31 miles from each airport, Louisville or Lexington. So
Mhm.
if you are in Louisville, I recommend guacamole in Nulu and Barvetti. Barvetti homemade pasta. Awesome. So, so good.
Mhm.
For special occasions and impeccable service in Lexington, I love Tony's. I mean, we've gone there for anniversaries and birthdays, and even just popping in before another event. The service is phenomenal, and the food is always top notch.
Mm.
So those are three. And you
Really
and
good
your wife have an
recommendations.
open
I love it.
invitation. Should you roll through Kentucky and you want to stop off and get a bite to eat, our dinner table is will happily seat you.
I think I'm going to stop by for a tomahawk. That sounds absolutely
Yeah,
delicious. And I'm
good.
not all that far. I'm in Nashville. So,
I
you
know,
might,
I
I
know.
might end up on your front doorstep. I'm just saying.
Come on.
All right. So this has been really fun. So if our college student listeners, if they want coaching, if they want to book you to speak on their college campus, where should they go to connect with you?
Well, today I would ask that you just email me, Kristie, Kristie, at KristieCrenshaw.com. Socially, I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. And, I'm working on that website. It has iterations, but right now it's not what I want it to be, so it's not available at the moment.
All right. Well, we're going to check back on that. Until then, we can certainly email you or we can find you on LinkedIn or
Please.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Again, it's Kristie Crenshaw and it's spelled Kristie. Last name is Crenshaw. Go and look her up on LinkedIn or Instagram, connect with her or send her an email. I know that she is absolutely going to knock it out of the park, whether it's coaching or speaking that you need on your college campus. I know that she is here to help and she's got so much great wisdom to share. So thank you so much, Kristie, for everything that you shared with us today.
Mike, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. I appreciate all of your listeners. And I hope I have the opportunity to hopscotch across the Midwest here and visit a few college campuses in the coming year.
I know you will, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on those stages as well. So, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Kristie, I want you to like it. And I want you to share it with other college students so they can hear her words as well. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks, and bye for now.